Hi everyone. Today I want to talk with you why static method is bad for tests. Let's start with a code example. Here, I have a file utility class. There's only one method in it. Try change file name extension. It takes in a path parameter as the original path to the old file, and it takes in a new extension parameter. The logic is simple. First, it tried to get the new file path. Then, within a try-catch block, it tries to move the file. When there is no exception, a result of true will be returned. And if there are exceptions, false will be returned. The code looks okay, but there is one big problem of that. We can't write a unit test to cover it. For example, if I try to do this, and the first parameter is going to be the original path to the first file, but which should I put here? There's nothing there in the unit test project to let me change name from. Come back to code to see what is causing the trouble. Actually, the reason we need the file to be there is because we called the move, which is a static method. And since it is a static method, it's not markable. Since it's not markable, we have to have the file on disk. And that is why static method is not good for tests. So what can we do? Well, firstly, try not to create static methods or static class in that sense. I've seen people, including myself, intend to create static classes for utilities. Think it again next time. But the reality is, we're going to deal with the existing code provided by third party, and code by the .NET framework, like the file utilities. And finding a piece of a static class in those libraries are not unusual. So next, I'll show you two techniques to make this code testable. The first one is to create an action to wrap up the static method. For example, this file move, it is actually an action of two strings, and it's a default of two noun. Here, I'm going to set the default action for move file. Takes the source file name and the new file path. And I'm going to call file.move. Give it the parameters. Okay, now this need to be an action as a whole. Okay. Now, instead of call file.move, I'm going to change it to call the delegate. And I need to fix the parameter names. Okay. Yeah, and that's it. Now let's see how can we write a unit test for it. We call target.try change file name extension. I'll give it a file name ABC. It doesn't matter. The reason it doesn't matter is I'm going to give it third parameter. That is an action which takes in two strings, the source file name and destination. And I'm going to say do nothing with it. So it won't really go to the file disk to check whether there's a file named ABC or not. Now let's write the assert. We expect the result to be true. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's make it a real unit test, and let's run it. Building the project. Hey, we passed the test. Okay, now let's make a negative test. Let's start by copy the existing one. Let's say not change extension. And within the method, whatever I'm accepting, I'm going to throw an IO exception, let's say. And Okay. Guess that's it. Let's run the test. Zero pass, one failed. Why did it fail? It is throwing exception. The actual is false. Oh yes, we should expect false. And that's it. Let's run it again. This time it will pass. Yep. As you can see, this is a quick, dirty way to make it testable. Basically, what we did was we created an action, which is a delegate, to wrap up the static method. When this same method is used multiple times in the same class, you might want to pull it up to the constructor. Now you realize, oh, this is probably not that good for dependency injection. And here is the second technique. It requires a little bit more code than the first one, but it's cleaner. What we need here is to wrap up the method into an interface. Let me create the interface first. iFileMover and takes in the source file name and destination. And now I'm going to use the interface. Assign it to a field and add a null check, just making sure it's always pathing. And now I'm going to replace it with the delegate that we just wrote. We don't need this one. We're going to say file mover the move, and that's it. Now let's take a look at how to update the unit tests. Let me comment out the second test case for a while, just to reduce some noise. Oops. Okay. Let me create a mock of the iFileMover. Okay, by default, this mock is not going to do anything, and that's actually what we want at this moment. Let me call it file move marker, and put in this object. Now we don't need to pass in the delegate anymore, and that's it. Let's try run this unit test. Still pass. Now let's move on to work on the negative case. Okay, let me copy the creation of the mock. One step I'm going to add here is I'm going to set up the mock so that whenever move method is called with the any source file name, and any extension. I'm always going to throw an IO exception like this. Okay. Now file utility, we need to pass in the mock. Well, actually, we need to pass in the object that implements iFileMover, and we can go ahead and remove the delegate that we wrote before. It should be good. Do we expect false? Yes, we expect false here. Now let's run the test again. and it passes. A quick recap. Static method could lead to testability issue because it is not mockable. We should consider more of alternatives to write than using static methods. We also went over 2 techniques to wrap up the static methods so that it can be testable. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you the next time.